Afternoon. How you doing? I just wanted to create this quick live stream as I'm seeing more and more investors in social media and comments talking about not fighting the Fed. The Fed is without question a powerful organization. They came in and helped during the financial crisis. Quantitative easing, one, two, three, Operation Twist. They've lowered rates. They've come in and started buying corporate debt. They're now buying junk bonds, or what they call the fallen angels. And now they're even buying stocks via ETFs. And they are doing all of this to the tune of trillions of dollars. There are frankly companies that have been financed in the last 6 to 8 weeks that probably couldn't have been financed any other way. But that said, the Fed is an extremely powerful organization. And I believe they have lots of tools left in their belt. I do not fall in the camp of folks that say the Fed is out of ammunition. They are frankly making up the rules as they go. They are doing things they've never talked about before, a la buying corporate debt, a la buying junk bonds, a la even coming out yesterday and saying they are willing to take losses. Now, as of last week, they're even buying ETFs of the market. But I want it to be clear because sometimes we look at the indices, we look at the stock market, we see the fact that it's within a whisper of its 200-day moving average. I believe each market is now positive for the month, and many of them were within 10% of all-time highs. All in the face of 36 plus million, likely going to 20 or 25% unemployment. I think there are three things the Fed cannot do. So let's go through them. And I think these are important because what we are experiencing today is going to be done over weeks and months, not in days. First and foremost, the Fed as an organization doesn't really, the folks who have assets, the folks that have stocks, the folks that have a 401k, when your stocks or your house is worth more, you feel better. But when we talk about the average consumer, the folks that were laid off that are sitting in the 15, 20, 25% unemployment, the Fed lowering rates, quantitative easing, Operation Twist, buying corporate bonds doesn't help them. And why consumer optimism is important is never forget that at least going into this man-made recession, the American economy is 66 to 68% consumer driven. So it is possible the consumer behavior snaps back. Absolutely possible. I think unlikely, but I'm wrong all the time. Certainly possible. The Fed is not really in a position to help the average consumer. We are going to feel good or bad based on where we are, what and who we are interacting with. Frankly, what media we are watching or not watching will impact how afraid or, I don't know, what's the opposite of afraid? Aggressive or not afraid we are. And that is important because that leads to number two. The Fed cannot create consumption. It has no powers to create consumption. It plays with rates. It can buy assets. It could help finance debt. But it cannot, as an organization, make me, my family, buy a new car, buy groceries, buy gas, right? It can't. It could make it so it's easier. Maybe we can get loans to do that, but it can't create consumption. We as individual Americans have the right to save or consume. I have seen some pretty decent numbers. that the average American is saving more than I expected. We are back to 2008 levels. This is important for us, again, as a consumer economy, right? Let's not forget that if the consumer's not buying, oh, wow, we are at 1982 savings levels. That's crazy. So again, if the consumer's not buying, that will eventually ripple through. And the reason I believe we are seeing stock markets at such high levels is A, the Fed is buying ETFs, but also two, companies are withdrawing guidance at record levels. So they don't have to talk about an earnings miss. So, we are going to see in another 45 days or so, actually, no, it'd be more like 75 days or so, because we have to get through not only the end of the quarter, but then the 30 days to do the books. But here's the third thing the Fed cannot do. The Fed cannot create a vaccine. It's a monetary organization. It could buy time so that the scientists of the world have time to hopefully create the vaccine, but ultimately it cannot. And they are at the mercy of the energy, intellectual capital, the ability, frankly, to create 1 billion or 7 billion or whatever it is, vaccines once done. So they, I believe, totally understand number 3. That's what they're trying to do, is just limp through this and buy time so the consumers can come back. The consumers can feel confident. This likely is going to impact consumer behavior forever. It's hard to say that after 10 weeks. It is hard to say that when the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ are near all-time highs, when Amazon and Facebook are at all-time highs. I can only tell you what I think. You're free to tell me I'm wrong. But this particular video is about the Fed. There are too many people today screaming, don't fight the Fed. The Fed's got our back. The Fed will bail us out of greedy or bad decisions. Not true. They can't create optimism. They can't create consumption, and they can't create the vaccine. They're simply trying to buy time. They're trying to limit asset price. They're trying to limit asset price repricing, if that makes sense. They're letting companies who are injured finance so they can get through this window. They are buying commercial debt so that they don't have to take haircuts in hotels and hospitals and all these other entities who are broke today. So in the end, I'm creating this video for all those folks that are saying, don't fight the Fed, don't fight the Fed. I think you're going to be surprised. They can't create consumption, they can't create consumer optimism, and they can't create a vaccine. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. I just wanted to put this out there. It was really bugging me. Have a wonderful day. If you're still watching, hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment. Have a wonderful day.